If you've ever used the user progress in our current version, you may or may have not been successful in trying to answer the questions you thought. So let me just kind of go over the process that we used to use was edit course, scroll down, view user progress, and here is where the I wonder what I'm going to get starts. You would have to select your student. You could select a different student. You can view different items. Right now we're viewing the content. So what you would do was select the particular item you wanted to see what was going on. And again, only for one student at a time. So let's take a look at the new version. And we have conveniently located access to the user progress in our Managed Course New Navigation. Even at first glance, we all have to say, wow, this looks pretty intriguing. So let's go over our columns. Certainly we have our student list. And then under content, I can see that our first student has done nothing. Second student has viewed at least 7% of the content. So you can kind of get the idea as students progress through the course, it shows that they have visited this particular student 2 out of 30 pieces of content. 1 out of 30 for this one. So a nice little summary to see who's been participating and really who is not. We have not been working with objectives at this point, but when that does get rolled out, if it does, we will certainly be going over that as well. The login column is an indicator that will display the number of logins to the system, not your course, in the past 30 days. So if a student is taking more than one class and they may log into the system, go to your class or the other, it's system logins. In our last column, titled Grades, you can see that there is a percentage for what each of the students are performing at. This will only be displayed, the number and the percentage, is if the calculated grade is released to the student. Otherwise, you will not see it, neither will they. But let's take a look at these graphs now. Let's take a look at our second student here. There's a lot of different levels that I'm seeing here. If you hover over each of these, this first one is the final calculated grade of 58%, and that's because it is released. The second one is for quiz number 1, a score of 0. You can see where we're going here. This one that I'm hovering over now is for quiz number 3. They got an 83%. So just by looking at this page, I can say, okay, why? What's going on here? Well, the discussion number 2 is helping to pull this student score down. So you can see that there's quite a bit going on here that is to our advantage to be able to keep up and see what students are doing. So this is a pretty sweet, let's look at the whole class overview, and we can get a feel for how things are going. And notice that it's called class progress. To see an individual, you can either click on their name or on the graph associated with their name. And now we're seeing individual, a lot more detail as to what this student is up to. So in this view, let's say we'll look at content. And I can see that there's been 2 visits to content, and there's 7% going on here. So you're saying, I'd like to see a little more detail on that. Well, over on the left, if we click on content, we can see that the Intro to Online Learning module, 2 items out of 5 have been completed, and we're seeing the progression bar that the student has achieved on that module. Course information, the student hasn't visited, so you get the feel for what we're able to see here. If we click on discussions, we're seeing all of the topics for discussions will be listed with that student's participation. So you get the idea. Don't hesitate. Feel free to jump in and try the user progress. I think you'll be pleased. And notice, too, this is appearing throughout in Desire to Learn version 10.1, is you can print any page you want. And did I mention that in the class list, this print is there? You can print your class list.